employ some different skills. And one of the skills that we can do is called motivational interviewing. Raise your hand if you've been to a motivational interviewing training at some point in your life. Okay, great. So at least half of you. Motivational interviewing is a very, very useful technique where the expert, the person, again, trying to get people to move into services, has to let go of their control. And it's a different way of approaching the conversation. Instead of an interrogation where we're like, tell us all about you, and then I'm going to tell you what you need to do to get your life together, which, again, hasn't proved to be very successful. Where do we lose most of our welfare to work clients, by the way? Where do we lose them first? Job readiness, and that's even if they come to the appraisal after orientation. Right? I think we have like a 50% or something like that. Maybe I'm just making up numbers at that point, but does it feel right? Like we lose most people after orientation because we're like, here's all the great things we'll give you, 20, 30, 35 hours. And they're like, how much more money do I get? None. But we'll give you all of these great services if you do what you're told. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not much. So part of the conversation and the way that we shift the conversation is we use some of the key elements of motivational interviewing, and this is collaboration versus confrontation. So collaboration is I'm working with you. I'm not telling you what to do. We're going to figure this out together. And so remember, your role here is the expert in the program and what services are available. They're the expert in where they want to go. So I'm not going to look at someone and say, based on your assessment, you would be a great nurse. And so we're signing you up for nursing school. You start on Tuesday. But don't worry, we're going to pay for your bus pass. It's going to be fine. Right? Or based on your assessment, the next thing is job club. You're starting job club, but I got you an interview outfit. So you'll look super fly first day. Right? And then you didn't show up on the third day. How dare you? Right? So this is where we have an opportunity to collaborate with people. What is it that you want? What can we do that's going to help you meet that need? And how can I support you? The next thing is we have to evoke or draw out people's solutions. You have to hold people capable. Hold them capable. Can I just tell you real quick that most people can solve all their life problems without your help? You don't believe me? Think about all the people in the universe who haven't met you before who are surviving just fine. You guys don't believe me, I promise you. So what we do is we start to, instead of telling people what they have to do, we start to ask them questions. This is part of the coach approach, where we start to ask very curious questions. So if someone comes and says, I couldn't come to this appointment, I couldn't come to my activity because I didn't have transportation, what's the first thing that just came to your mind? How can I help them? What conversations would you be having? Yeah, what's going on with your transportation? That's the coach approach. But what a lot of people do is like, oh, you can't get here, I can get you a bus pass. So now you have no excuse. Well, there's a lot of assumptions in that. Number one, that they ride the bus, or they know how to ride the bus, or it would be easy for them to ride the bus. Or there's an assumption that that's going to solve that issue. But we know, unless you live in a big city, and even then it's questionable, sometimes in these rural communities, taking the bus might take 4 to 6 business days to move 2 miles. And that's if it shows up at all. And then again, there's the issue with children. That's what all of our families have in common, is that how do I get my children on the bus? And how do I get them to their childcare and still make it to where I need to go in a meaningful way? So that may not be the right solution. Yes, I can give you a bus pass. But how would you fix this problem? So asking, what's going on with your transportation? How do you normally get around? What would be a good plan B for you? If you had to go to the doctor, what options would you have right now? Who can you call? What other choices do you have? And then what else, until they're like, oh my gosh, I don't have any other choices. Great, it sounds like you have a lot to choose from. What do you want to start with? So we get people to think for themselves. This is about creating capacity instead of dependency, okay? Now, we still offer supportive services. Don't anybody write down, don't give people bus passes anymore. That's not what I'm saying. We still want to come through with the supportive services, but we want to make sure that they're meaningful and not just, again, something we give people to say, I gave you a bus pass and you're still not succeeding. What's wrong with you? All right? The last one we want to go with is autonomy versus authority. And this is where people are free to make their own choices. And it has nothing to do with you versus us having, again, this hold of do this or else. When I was a case manager back a long time ago, that was one of my first conversations I had with people is, my job here is to help you navigate this program. You can choose whatever works best for you and your family. I'm not gonna make you go any which way. You can go your own way. And I would sing Fleetwood Mac to them. It was beautiful. But you can go your own way. And at the time, for some people, the best thing for them was a sanction. And I would always say, you can choose a sanction. If that's the thing that's best for you and your family right now, you can choose that sanction. And if you change your mind, you can choose something else. And so it was never something I did to them. It was a choice that they got to make. So if 20, 30, or 35 hours is not gonna work for you, and we can't find an exemption or good cause that's gonna work for you, and the best thing that's for you is to choose the sanction, that's fine. It's not a punishment, it's a choice. And so this is where I got to put some autonomy. What works best for you? And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to choose a sanction. Wonderful. I don't want that for you either. Here's what we can do. Well, I can't do that. Well, then your other choice is a sanction. Well, I don't want to get sanctioned. Well, great. Here are what options you have. And there's flexibility, right? There's not one size fits all. This is where if what we're suggesting maybe is not the thing for them and they're not into it, then let's find something else. Let's dig a little bit deeper. And if you built that relationship, then that happens. But can I just be honest with you? Most adults don't like to be told what to do. I'm absolutely one of those. You tell me what to do, I'm going to do the opposite. Why? Because I'm grown. I'll do what I want, okay? Even if it's in my best interest. You need to do, like my doctor all the time, you need to diet and exercise. Worry about yourself, okay? Now I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not about that, exactly. Don't worry about me. So when we give autonomy back to people, when we stop forcing them into these prescribed paths, then we give them a choice, then people are more likely to go along with what they think is a good idea versus being told what to do. And so it just takes a little bit of still giving people the information to make informed decisions. If you choose this path, this is what the program will do. If you choose this path, this is what the program will do. If you choose this path, this is what the program will do. What's most in line with your desires? What's most in line with your goals? And if something happens, instead of you being in trouble because life happened, call me and we'll find a solution versus you're gonna get penalized. We want it to be an invitation, not a requirement. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna practice again. And if I get some good answers, we might take a break right after this. Are you all good with that? Or should we take the break first? I feel like we should take the break first. What do you think? Give you some more time for break? Autonomy. See, I was already practicing it. So do you want to take break now or break later? Now, so you can get some fresh air. You're all fighting for your lives. I see it. All right, we're back. Was that a lovely break? You got refreshed? Felt what fresh air felt like? Wishing you would have dressed for inside and not outside today? I learned some good life lessons this morning, I tell you what. I know, exactly. Tomorrow I'm going to be in loungewear. You'll see. All right. So I want us to come back to practice a little bit of an activity because remember, it's real easy to talk about these shifts, but doing the work is where it really happens. There's some skill to it. And it requires that we think about what we do and what we say and how we say it in a different way. So part of what we want to do, because language is very important. How we talk to people, the words we use, the semantics, the tone, all of it's very, very important. So I have some examples. If you're following along in your handout on page 2, a compliance-based statement might say, if you don't attend the workshop, you'll lose your benefits. Can you see how that's like a lose-lose? Do it or else. And a lot of times people say, I don't even need those benefits. What am I gonna lose, $162? I can make that up in no time, under the table. You don't even need to know about it. It's none of your business. So it's not really the flex that we think it is. But here's a new way to approach it. Attending this workshop can help you build new skills and keep your benefits secure. Do you see how I'm saying the same exact thing, but in a very different way? Language matters. Here's another one. You didn't turn in your paperwork again. How dare you? Shame, shame, shame. Or you could say, I know this paperwork can be daunting. Let's figure out how we can make this easier to complete. Do you see the difference in the two? So here's what I'd like you all to do. You can, again, work by yourself or work with a friend. Choose your own adventure. I have a few compliance-based statements that you might hear out in the wild. And I'd like you to see if you can reword them to be a bit more supportive. And I've also left you some space if you have your own statements that you might hear often that are very compliance-based. You can write those down and find a way to write them in a more supportive way. For the sake of time, I'm only going to give you like 5 or 6 minutes. So if you don't get all of them done, do not panic. You can maybe pick 1 or 2 that are most important to you. But I'll walk around and help and support you in any way that I can. And if you don't want my help, just don't get eye contact and we'll be fine. All right, so 5 or 6 minutes. Work on this as a team, as a group. Let's see if we can find some supportive language. All right. I know that wasn't nearly enough time, but I want to see if anybody wants to volunteer a supportive statement. Anybody? You could go viral. Look, there's my friend right there. You could go viral. We're online right now.
Thank you so much. So I wanted to go for the first one. So you have already done a good amount. Let's try together to complete the remaining hours.
So instead of shaming them, like, let's see what we can do to get you your hours, right? Let's see what we can do. I love it. So great. Anybody else want to share one? Joe, I knew it. Joe's been looking at me.
All right, so for this isn't how the program works. You can't just do what you want. I changed it to which of the many available activities interest you the most.
Ooh, good. That one's juicy. Do you see how we're just giving that option back? So I want to point out something somebody very smart online pointed out, is that we are modeling this behavior even in this workshop. So if we go back to collaboration versus confrontation, work at your table. If you want, work by yourself. Decide what's best for you. Work together. And you're having great conversations. The same is true. What do you all think? Here's a couple of examples. What do you think? You're experts in your counties. You're experts in your programs. And so I don't have to spoon feed you all the answers. You're very capable people. And I also give you some autonomy. Work on it by yourself. We'll see where we're at. We'll check in and see how it goes. I mean, how did it feel for you all? And some of you aren't doing the activity at all. You're checking for your Costco shopping list. And guess what? Do what you want. You paid your conference money, we're happy. But this is part of that autonomy, is you can't get everyone to do exactly what you want, and that's okay. You leave people alone, and there's majority rules. Most people were doing it, and that's what we're hoping for. You cannot meet everybody where they're at always. They work with the willing, remember, work with the willing. So here's the next question for you all. Here's your reflection question. It's in your handout. It's at the top of page 3. How does the language feel different? How might your clients respond differently? And what would need to change in your organization to make this shift from compliance-based language to support? And I want to make one point right now. I know not all of you are case managers. Some of you are. Some of you are in positions of influence and authority in your counties. And I will say right now, it starts from the top. So if we are using strength-based, if we are using the language with employees and staff, it will most naturally occur with our clients as well. But we cannot expect our staff to use the strength-based, kind, compassionate language if we're not doing the same for them. So it's a culture shift for all of us. So think about that. What would need to shift in your organization to move some of this compliance-based language? Like, if you're not here by 8 o'clock, you're going to get written up. I heard that my whole life. I was late for 12 whole years. It's a shame. It didn't work, obviously. 12 years, I still was late. So how can we shift that to something different? So talk about that at your tables. The questions are at the top of page 3. All right, my friends, start to wrap up your conversations here. So language matters. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it. It's not just what we say, it's how we say it. And one of our goals, of course, is always to communicate information to people. But what we really have to think about is it an invitation or an accusation? Is it you must or can you? And so Jean from our app, we want to also recognize our virtual participants. They're not here in the room with us, but they kind of are. Do you see them? Do you feel them? Jean brought up a really good strategy, is that when we build those good relationships with people, sometimes when we ask for compliance, what we ask is, hey, can you help me get my requirements in? Would you be willing to come in and do this form for me so I don't get in trouble? And people like to be giving. What a great strategy. It's true, too. You're not even being a liar, liar, pants on fire, because sometimes we do need that paperwork to make sure we stay in compliance and we meet our requirements as well. And so asking for that favor. This isn't part of the class. This is your first free gift with purchase today. But there's this idea of influence, right? I can't change what anybody else does, but I can definitely have influence on behavior. And one of the 6 pillars of having influence in the power of persuasion is something we call reciprocity. So don't get this twisted. It's not like quid pro quo or a tit for tat. I did this, now you owe me. But in reciprocity, we have this mutual relationship where I will do things for you because I know that you'll do them for me as well. And so part of our ability to influence behavior is to create that equal relationship. They don't work for us, we don't work for them, we're partners. And so I'll pull strings for you, and you can pull some strings for me, and that way we can be equal and we can have a fair relationship. So I'll give you a quick strategy since we're on strategies. We have a representative from CalWORKs at the college back there, the CalWORKs office. Yeah, that's my friend, there he is. We're best friends now, by the way. I don't know if you know, but we are. But one of the things, my person in my CalWORKs office that worked at our community college, her name was Gail. And I had never met Gail in real life. I just knew that her name was Gail. So when I would have students who would come in to me as a case manager that were interested in college, I would say, hey, do you think if I could call my friend Gail at the college and get her to squeeze you in, would you, if I can pull some strings, will you go to orientation? And then I would call Gail and I'd say, hey Gail, this is Tiffany calling from the CalWORKs office. I was wondering if you could do me a favor. You owe me one. Do you think you can squeeze in this really qualified individual and see if you can get him in for an orientation? She's like, Tiffany, how many times do I have to tell you? We do this every Tuesday. She can get you in, right? Yeah, she says you're on the list. So now, because it looks like I'm pulling strings to do a favor, guess what? They show up. Now, some might call that manipulation. I call it strategy. I'm making them feel like they're VIP because they are VIP to me. They are VIP. I want them to go. I want them to attend. I want to take the fear. I want them to take the pain out of this unknown. So if I can make it more friendly, if I can make it more exciting, if I can add value to that interaction, what do I have to lose except for Gail thinking I'm a weirdo? And then when I met her the first time, she's like, you're the one. I said, yes. And she's like, it works. They always show up. I said, I know, right? So it's just about thinking differently. Be strategic, right? Be strategic. Don't do things the way they've always been done because that's the way it's always been done if it's not working. Be willing to be different. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't, but guess what? What do you have to lose? So let's go into our last component of the day today. I want to make sure you all get on time for lunch. I hear it's going to be delicious. Don't you love conference food? Did you guys weigh yourself before and you'll weigh yourself after? I heard this is a 7-pound conference. I don't know what that means, but it's a 7-pound conference. You'll go home 7 pounds heavier. They don't have food today? Never mind, worry about yourself. Never mind, worry about yourself. My bad. Tomorrow you worry about, tomorrow we'll feed you. Okay, this is a 3-pound conference, 3-pound conference. Okay, it's all right. I ruined everybody's life. Resiliency, how are we gonna bounce back from this snafu, right? Resiliency. So I wanna talk about resiliency very quickly, and for this we are gonna use some research and thinking about the resiliency theory. And remember, the whole entire existence for us, the reason that we exist as a program, it's all rooted in crisis and trauma. And I cannot state that enough. We exist because people are suffering, they're going without housing security, without food security, without medical security, sometimes without safety. We're existing because people have something going on in their lives that is not ideal. So with that being said, one of the things we have to keep in mind as we're helping people navigate through our services is that they are in active crisis, okay? Active crisis. Poverty is a crisis. Homelessness is a crisis. Wondering where your next meal is going to come from is a crisis. Wondering if you can take your sick baby to the doctor and get seen is a crisis. So when people are in crisis, their brains work in a different way, right? We're in survival mode. So the parts of our brain that we use for critical thinking, for problem solving, for creativity, for learning, a lot of times are not activated when we're in active crisis. And so we need to keep that in mind in the way that we connect with people. But just because somebody is in a crisis doesn't mean they have to stay there. With some compassion, with some support, with some connection, we can actually help people be resilient. And for me, the way I like to think about resiliency is like a bouncing ball, a basketball. If I have a basketball and I throw that basketball on the floor 100 times in a row, it's going to come back every single time. And so resiliency is not being without struggle, it's about the bounce back. How do we navigate through whatever it is that we're going through in a way that leads to good outcomes? How do we bounce back from the struggle? So one of the things that we can do as part of this resiliency theory is that we can focus on people's strengths. Even when everything is terrible, you always have something that you can stand on that you're good at that might help you in that situation. So I'd love to use kids against people, for people. Because that's one thing almost every client and every family that we serve, they all have children. Otherwise, if they don't have children, they're not part of our programs, right? And so how do we use the kids for them? They love their children. That's why they're here. They're trying to make a good life. They're trying to make sure that their kids are safe and healthy. So we can use that as part of that strength-based focus. I can see how much you care about your family. I can see how dedicated you are. I can see how hard you're trying. I can see how far you've come so far. You recognize what people are doing well. You don't just point out what's going wrong. Another thing that we can look at as part of this resiliency theory is what protective factors do people have in their lives? What does their social support network look like? Who can they go to? What services are available in the community? What special skills do people have that you can point out? Where can you really show people where they are thriving, even in those moments of crisis, including things like self-efficacy, the belief that things can change and that they can make things different. How do we help them recognize their own resourcefulness and their protective factors? Another part of resiliency is about adapting and growing, and this is true not just for our clients, but for us as well. How do we learn and grow through our challenges? None of us are without problems. Let's just face it, we got 99 problems, and I won't finish that sentence, but you can. But we all have our own problems, but it's how we deal with them. We don't all react in the same way, and this is why some people thrive and some people stay stuck. It all comes down to how do you choose to learn and grow through the process. I know it always sounds soft and squishy when I'm like, every failure is a learning experience, but it really is. It teaches you what to do and what not to do. I have a 23-year-old son. Don't tell him I'm talking about him behind his back. He's very sensitive. But he became an adult during the pandemic. And during the pandemic, there were a bunch of jobs. Everybody was hiring. So he thought he was special. He's very special. He's my favorite. He's my favorite youngest son. So he thought that he could just quit a job and go to the next job whenever he felt like it. Well, guess what? It's not like that anymore. And so he's really struggling right now because he quit his last job because they didn't promote him. Because he thought he should be the CEO after 6 months. And so he's like, you're not going to make me CEO. I'll just go somewhere else. And guess what? There's nowhere else. And so instead of judging him, I'm going back to the adaptation and growth. I'm not saying, Eric, what's wrong with you? Why would you quit a job? This is not like you wait till you have another job, right? Did I teach you nothing? That's what I was thinking, but that wouldn't have been helpful. Remember I told you he's sensitive. So instead I said, Eric, what did you learn from this experience? What are you going to do differently next time? And he had some good answers. And so I can still be empathetic and say, I'm sorry that this is happening to you, and I'm sorry that you're struggling right now, and I know good things will happen for you. So what are the steps you're going to take right now? And so I can just keep encouraging him through action. What I'm not going to do is do it for him, because I didn't quit his job, he did. So the best way to get wisdom, the struggle is real, right? I'm going to let him suffer through his choices. That's where he's going to adapt and grow. And I guarantee you the next time, he'll probably make a different decision, and that's a win. Do I want to see my baby suffer? No. But do I want him to live with me? Also no. Okay. So we're going to let him figure it out. It's part of the growth. But can I say, as a parent, that's part of my growth as well, because that was part of my growth. I messed the first one up. He's 28. He's still fighting for his life. You know what I mean? So I've learned and grown as well. But this is the process. This is part of being a human being. This is part of being a human living life, is that you're going to make mistakes. You have to learn from them. And sometimes that means you have to go make amends for the way you've done it wrong before. But we continue to adapt and grow. This is how we stay resilient. The last thing I want to mention here is that resilience is not something that is immediate. It takes time. And this is why, can I just say, younger people struggle a little bit more than those who get older, because older people, their resilience grows with time and maturity and experience. This is not to say that young people aren't incredibly resilient. That's not a true story. But life experience is a great teacher. And so what we might think is right in our 20s looks very different from what we think is right in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. I don't know the rest of that. But, you know, we build our experiences over time, and that can go in different directions. So if you have positive, supportive people helping you grow, then you'll probably grow in a supportive, healthy way. But if you have people who just keep you down, that's also going to have an impact. And so it's a dynamic process. So for us, if our goal is to get people off of aid forever and always, and for generations, how do we help grow people's resiliency? Because life is going to happen. And what we don't want to do is make them dependent on us. And unfortunately, we've created that over years and years of being compliance-based. We don't hold you capable. We think that you're dependent, so every problem we're going to solve it for you. We don't empower you to choose your own solution. We still want to come in with the support, but we want to build people up, not just give them a handout. We want to give them a hand up as well. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to get in groups of 3, but you know, all the rules are out the window today. We're going to be autonomous. I was going to make you do fun rock, paper, scissors right now, but do what you want. Anybody wake up this morning like, I really want to play rock, paper, scissors? No? Okay. Well, look, figure it out. Figure your lives out. Here's what I'm going to tell you to do. Okay, we have 100 and something people in here. So there's 3 scenarios, and this is why I was going to have you play rock, paper, scissors. If you want to do it, you can. I'm going to give you some instructions. We have 3 scenarios in our handout on pages 3 and 4. And so each of these, and you know what? I've made a decision. I'm going to let you try all 3 if you want to. So you don't have to pick one. You can pick all 3. I'm going to let you do what feels right. What we want to do here is we want to look at these relationships in action. And so I want to give you, there's 3 scenarios here. We have Jasmine, we have Miguel, and we have the Robinson family. And so what I'd like you all to do is to see if you can shift the lens and really focus on relationships, thinking of some of this resiliency theory. And how do we change the way we look at families? So I'm going to do Jasmine with you as just an example, and then I'll let you all have some time on your own. So what I'd like you to pay attention to right now as I read the scenario, think about what your first thoughts are as I'm just reading this out to you, and I'm going to ask you some questions. Jasmine's a single mother of 2 children, 2 young children. She recently lost her job due to a lack of childcare and is applying for CalWORKs. She arrives late to her appointment because her babysitter canceled. The caseworker notices she's missed 2 previous orientations. Jasmine appears stressed, apologetic, and defensive. So what are your first thoughts as like a case manager? What are you thinking about Jasmine? Just right off the bat, no wrong answers here. You can't be wrong, it's your opinion. She's irresponsible. What else? She's struggling. What else? What was that? She needs help. She needs help. In terms of services, what are the first things that come to mind that you're going to help her with? childcare. How many of you already got the packet ready? You got it pulled up in case she needs it. Now, we haven't even asked for any questions yet. So this is absolutely a gatekeeper lens. I heard your story, Jasmine, and I know exactly what you need. You need childcare help, and I'm going to give it to you. That's a gatekeeper, because we haven't asked any additional questions to find out more about her story. We've made an assumption based on very limited information. So as a concierge, this is what I would like you to do. What are some of her additional barriers? But what are some relationship-based strategies that you could use? So what are some strengths that she might have? What are some protective factors that are working in her favor? What are some ways that maybe she can adapt and grow? Where might she be in this dynamic process? I'd like you to come up with a few strategy or strategies for some of these scenarios here of how you might approach this through that concierge lens. How might you shift it from follow the rules or else? What might be some extra questions that you can ask? What may be some conversations? What might be some services that you could recommend? Put as much down as you want. Go as detailed as you feel is right. For this activity, I'm going to give you a long, luscious 15 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes. So if you're tired of the people at your table and you want to move around, feel free to do so. If you want to stay where you're at because they're the best people you could have ever met, then you can do that too. But I'm going to ask a few of your groups to share maybe some approaches that you might use in these scenarios. And then if you need help, wave at me and I'll come to you. All right, have at it. Have a good time. Okay, time's up. Dun, dun, dun. Pencils down. We're grading your tests now. Not really. Okay, so I'm going to ask for some volunteers. We're going to see how we put this into practice. So is there anybody who would like to share a strategy that you may have used with our first scenario, Miss Jasmine? How could we look at her situation through a different lens? I saw some of you had juicy stuff written down. This is your time to shine. Not all of you at the same time. Look, Joe's going to be a hero. All right, Joe.
So starting with some strengths that we talked about at the table here. So she's a good mother, able to be employed, willing to sacrifice a good job to care for her children, and she made it to the appointment despite the challenges that she was facing. So a lot of strengths to start from.
Yeah. Absolutely. Do you notice just from like 2 sentences, you can see all of the good stuff she has going in her favor? And remember, we started today with the conversation about when has someone believed in you or shared something with you that helped build you up and made you feel good about yourself? Sometimes people, when they're having struggles, they think that they do nothing right. So when you can say something like, I see how much you care about your kids. I can see what a good mom you are. Gosh, tell a mom that she's a good mom, instant tears. Oh, we'll all cry. We'll all cry together. Tell a dad he's a good dad. We'll all cry together. You know what I mean? And so just being able to recognize what people are doing well, it lifts some of that pain of the challenges, and it helps them recognize where they're at. So it builds a foundation that you can continue to grow up to. All right, any other strategies we use for Jasmine? All right, here we come. See, you warmed him up, Joe. You're a hero. I thank you.
I would, be cognizant of the time. If you've got an hour for an appointment, you got an hour. She's 20 minutes late. But I would be like, okay, hey, we've got 40 minutes left. Let's see what we can get done today. And we got extra time. Let's get through these forms and just see how much we can get done. So it's not like time wasted or time lost or anything like that. And you probably can get through the whole thing. You got enough time. But then she knows up front the expectations, and if it's not all done that day, okay, what can we do? Is there something you can do on your own, or can we finish some of this with a phone call, set up another appointment? But let's just get as much done today as we can.
Love that, love that, love that. So I'm not going to make you feel bad, but we're going to do what we can with what we have. Do you notice I'm not breaking any rules or making any adjustments to the schedule? I'm just saying, I'm so glad you made it. And we have 40 minutes, so let's do what we can with the time that we have. What would be most meaningful? So good stuff. I saw another hand up over here. Yes, I knew it.
very close to the same, but complete the interview. She's pending CalWORKs. We can't help her until she's granted. So that's the first step, is making sure that gets done. Let her know that childcare is part of the program and one of the services that we offer, and ask if there's any other services she may be needing or wanting, and then offer phone and benefits Cal options.
Absolutely. She's new to CalWORKs, so let her know what's available. She may not know. And you know, here's the other thing too. What's really interesting is sometimes if maybe this isn't her first time, we make the assumption like, oh, this is the fourth time they've been on CalWORKs. They already know all the stuff. But how many of you do this for a living and still learn something new every day? You know, and we're immersed in it all day, every day. So this is a great opportunity to share. This is what we have going on. What do you want to take advantage of? And give her some choice. So beautiful job. Let's do a big round of applause for all of our friends with Jasmine. All right, now we have Miguel. I know some of you were writing stuff down for number 2. I saw it. Miguel is 22 years old, who's been in and out of short-term jobs. He expressed his frustration. Every time I get ahead, something goes wrong. And he has not turned in his job search log for 2 weeks. He comes in expecting to get yelled at. Poor Miguel. Who wants to take this one on? What are our strategies here? We'll just do 2 this time. All right, I saw, look at new hands coming up. We're getting brave, friends, we're getting brave.
One thing you could do is kind of disarm that expectation that he has. So just let him know, I'm not going to yell at you. It's not my job to yell at you. I don't want you to yell at me. Neither of us are going to yell at each other. I'm here to help you. Let's go from there.
That's it. That's the relationship building. Like, we're not yelling at each other. We're homies. What are you talking about, Miguel? I'm so glad you made it. But remember, just as much as sometimes we have preconceived notions, they do as well. Remember, we're the DMV for many people. They're not expecting to come in and have a good time. And so their guard is up. And so if we can kind of put that down and say, I'm not here to yell at you. I'm not in charge. You're a grown man, Miguel. And you can make your own decisions, but let me help you understand what happens, what the next step is, and that way you can decide what you want to do with that information. So great job. Love the tone, too. All right, I saw another hand up over here. There. All right, I love it. Get ready for number 3, the rest of you.
Ask what happened. What happened in the last couple weeks? What's going on? How can I help? Maybe is there another activity that would be better for you? Maybe ask their goals, ask him if he wants to go to school, encourage school. If he's had several jobs that he's lost like that, he's probably needing some skills to get to the job he really wants. And I like to say, career, not job.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And that's exactly it. Let's ask some questions and find out what's important to Miguel, because we can't motivate him with what motivates us, because we're not him, right? So I might be like, let's get you into school. And he might be like, I'm not doing that. And you can say, okay, well, what would work for you? Let's have a conversation. I'm curious, not judgmental, okay? Good stuff. All right, let's give a clap for Miguel and his success. Word on the street, Miguel is thriving now. He's thriving. He's doing great stuff. All right, let's end with the Robinson family. Who wants to take on number 3? The Robinsons are a 2-parent household with 3 children. The father works part-time, but hours are inconsistent. The mother's attending school. They've received a notice about a potential reduction due to insufficient job activity hours. They express confusion about the requirements and frustration with all the red tape. That would never happen to us, right? Who wants to take this one on? All right, I see a couple hands, yeah. All right, thank you all for not making me suffer. I just want to say for the record, you're all awesome.
One of the things that I wanted to be able to express to them is policy and regulation is written not for the people. And we're still learning about it. And we have the benefit of being kind of the middleman. So we understand and we look and we read the policy all the time, but we also are the people and we would want to explain to us in a layman's terms. So being able to say, okay, I completely understand that. I empathize with you. Let's look at this policy. Let's go over it. Let's apply it to your situation. What is your current understanding of what is expected of you and what these policies and regulations mean? And then go into further and look at them as a whole. Okay, well, let's look at what you've been doing so far. Oh, well, one example that my colleague said was, oh, well, you haven't been putting your school hours down. So, well, let's do that. And just looking at all these like missing holes and just basically making it a whole picture.
Beautiful. So let's take what you're already doing to move your family forward and find out how to make it meet those requirements, because I see how hard you're working, right? And they don't know what they don't know, but we do. We're the experts. We let them live their life. We make the program work. So good stuff. Thank you so much. We have one more right here. Right? Was that your hand up? Okay.
Basically the same, and letting them know that it's okay that they don't understand it, because we understand many clients don't understand the regulations, and that's what we're here for. Giving them the options of like, hey, you can share your hours, and really like diving into her schooling, since that seems to be like a main activity for her, and seeing, hey, maybe you can cover all the schooling, and then asking more inquisitive questions and building their plan to what they're already doing, so we're not adding any more additional items onto them.
Absolutely. What about them homework hours? Yes.
It's kind of related, but the example I was telling him earlier was when I would do renewals, I noticed a lot of people who were working would also have sanctions on their case. And I would ask them, hey, do you know about this sanction? And just want to know, you're already doing the work. It's just a matter of, talking to your welfare to work worker and turning in the form, but you're already doing it. So acknowledge what they're already doing and saying, we just need the piece of paper that says you're doing it.
And then they'll meet WPR. Win, win, win. Okay, great. So my friends, thank you so much for playing along with this fun game that we did, because this takes practice, right? Sometimes we can't change the circumstances, but what we have to do is change the way that we look at it. And this is where we say, let's shift the lens. So one of the things that we're gonna do is we're gonna start to notice and pay attention to when we become too adamant about the rules. Again, the rules are still there, but how are we approaching it? Are we approaching it as the goal is to meet the rules, or is the goal to get people into activities in meaningful things that are going to move them towards self-sufficiency and independence, long-term independence? So I have some questions for you as we start to wrap up, but I do want to tell you a quick story about my transition. Prior to going into employment services, I did the eligibility portion for a long time. And in the eligibility part of CalWORKs, you all know it's black and white. You're eligible, you're not eligible, you meet the requirements or you don't. So I was an expert in the paperwork, the process, the interviews, nailed it. So as I went into welfare to work, one of the first things that was hard for me is that there's all that gray area. And I'm like, wait. Case by case, I need some clarity. What does that mean? And because I'm used to you are, you're not, yes or no. There's no kind of gray area. And so I really struggled with that, because that's what was ingrained in the way that I was. So we had this lead worker or senior. You know how every county has their own, right below the supervisor. His name was Patrick. And Patrick drove me nuts. Can I tell you? He walked around the office whistling all day, like not a care in the world, happy to be alive. He'd been working for the county for like 647 years. I don't remember the exact amount, but he was born there. It was a long story. But one of the things that Patrick used to stress me out about is like if I was gone and he had to see one of my clients, he never did the journal right. He never did the right forms. He never filled the stuff out. He never, I'd be like, I thought this was a non-compliance. How come you didn't fill out the form? And he's like, I gave him good cause. You still got to put a form, Patrick. And he's like, well, I just gave him good cause. So I said, well, what was the good cause reason? I just felt bad for him. So I didn't like Patrick. We weren't friends. He just stressed me out. But I was looking at everything through the compliance lens. So Patrick decided after 647 years that he was going to retire. And he came to work, and the counties, we potlucked, of course. And I'm never going to say no to free food, so I went. So Patrick literally comes in to his potluck with a stick with a bandana on the back of it, like a hobo, you know? And he was singing, hi ho, it's off to work no mo. That was his retirement song. And so Patrick came in and we're all like, ugh, rolling our eyes. Good cause Patrick over here not doing journals, you know? And so Patrick said something that changed my life that day, because he said, I know as I retire that you all have been frustrated. I know I don't do the journals. I know I don't do the forms. He said, but I learned something a long time ago, and that's if you take care of the people, everything else will take care of itself. And I started with that today, and I wanted to give you the backstory. If you take care of the people, everything else will take care of itself. And that resonated with me, and I thought, I'm going to be more like Patrick. I'm still going to do journals and forms. I'm not that hardcore, right? But I'm going to start thinking about it from that lens. How do I take care of the people and let everything else take care of itself? And wouldn't you know, everything shifted. My job became so much easier. It was so much, every interview that I had or every appointment that I had was great. It was smooth. I didn't have a lot of drama. I still did the forms. I still did the stuff. I gave a whole lot of good cause out. But you know what I didn't have? I didn't have a lot of sanctions. And it wasn't because my clients were any different from anybody else's. It was just they would come in and I'd say, well, what can we do? This is not working for you. What's your goal? Let's figure something out. And that's what built those relationships. And it made my life so easy. And it would be funny because some of my colleagues that were still stuck in the, you know, they'd say, must be nice. And I say, it is. You should try it. Let's do it. So I'm inviting you to be like Patrick, right? But do your journals and forms. But really think about, what do the people need? Because if we can think about the needs of them and their families, then that means that the program can work for them. They have better outcomes. We have better outcomes, and we have to work way less. And I think we're all interested in working just a little bit less for the same pay. All right, so let's make our jobs easier. So I have a reflection for you, and then I'm gonna have one last discussion. This is in the middle of page 4. What would need to change in your organization to shift from rules to relationships? And what role do trust, encouragement, and advocacy play? So talk about that for a few minutes, and then I have one last set of questions for you to ponder, points to ponder before we let you out for by your own lunch day. So let's talk for a few minutes. Talk at your tables for the next 5 minutes about the question in the middle of page 4. Okay, my friends. I want to give you an opportunity to finish talking, but I'm going to switch the conversation just a little bit. If you feel like it. Good job, your table, good job. Okay, what I'm hearing are a lot of great ideas. And a lot of passion is coming from this room. I think that they sent the right people to the conference because you all seem very invested in making this shift happen. So I have a few last questions, and these are actionable. This is a way for us to really put a pretty bow on these conversations that we've been having today. Remember, this isn't going to happen without work. If we really, really want to shift the way that we do work, it's going to take us some time. But my question is, what are we asking our clients to do every single day? We're asking them to change, right? We're asking them to change from whatever their current situation is into something that's healthier, something that's more self-sufficient, something that's more independent, something that helps themselves, their communities, their children, their families. So if we're asking people in active crisis to change, and it's hard, then I'm going to say, you first. You first. We have to practice what we preach. And so if what we're doing right now isn't working for us, if it isn't leading us to the outcomes that we want, then we too have to change. And I've heard some of you say, this is going to be a lot of work. And I'm going to say probably, but we're already working hard now. And so yes, is it an investment? It absolutely is an investment. Is it going to take time, energy, and effort? Also, yes. Will it make our lives easier in the long run? Also, yes. And so is it worth it? And I'm going to say probably yes. But it's up for you to decide. So here's my last questions. This is where we really start to take this from just an idea, a theory, a good idea, and bring it into action. I don't have any forms for you to fill out. I don't have any new surveys for you to take back to your organizations. But what I would like to ask is, what is this going to look like for us in our daily practice? If you can think of one thing that you can do differently from whatever role you're in, whether you're working with the public, you're a supervisor, you're a manager, you're an administrator, what would you need to change in your daily practice? The second question I have for you is, what are some barriers that you can anticipate in making this shift? What are some things that you can anticipate that's going to make it difficult to transition from being a gatekeeper to being compassionate? And then maybe find a solution. So as an example of this, one of the biggest things I hear when I give these types of classes is people will say, but not everybody's going to do this. There's those people in our counties, they're not going to change. So what about you? Worry about yourself. How about that? You can't change everybody. You can change yourself. So if you can anticipate there are going to be some barriers where people are going to want to keep things the same, then what's your strategy to deal with that? You can't make them do something different, but how can you look at that situation a little bit differently? So for every challenge that you can identify, think of a solution. And so I'm going to give you a few minutes to talk these out. You can write them down, but this is the actionable item. And then I'm going to have at least 3 people share a solution. And once I get 3 good answers, I'll let you go. Work, you got to earn it. All right, so talk to each other. Come up with your best solution. What is this going to look like in practice? What are you willing to commit to as you go back to work? Okay, my friends. Okay. I want to acknowledge that that's probably not enough time to solve all of your life problems. And at least we've gotten the ball rolling in the right direction. So one of the benefits of having these big, huge sessions with people from all over the place is that you get to hear different kinds of thinking from different people who may have a completely different vantage point than you do in your community, that you're like, that's a great idea. We could do that where I live. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sweeten the pot. Couple of quick announcements. Since I messed up with lunch, I'd like to invite you all to a reception tonight, 5 to 7. There will be snackies. It's BYOB, or I mean buy your own booze, but it is, there will be some appetizers. So there is food today. It's just not till later, not right now. So please come there, and then tomorrow we will have a hosted lunch. So I just wanted to clarify that for anybody who's starving to death. The other thing is, I want to hear from 3 people some solutions, some ideas of how we're going to take this back to our counties and our organizations. And to sweeten the pot, I have 3 very exclusive, limited edition, giving the gift training and coaching pens that you can show to all your friends for anybody who wants to volunteer a solution. They write well, they sign autographs even better. Anybody want to share a solution or idea? Look at that. Amber wants a pen. Here you go, Amber.
It really makes a difference in your own attitude and behavior, because when other people who are in your office listening to you talk to your customers or seeing how you interact with them, it's a trickle effect. And so you can model that behavior to help try to change the whole mindset of what's going on.
Yes. That's right, Amber. Energy is contagious. You get to make a difference. You decide what that is. You can be negative, and that's contagious, or you can be positive, even if you start all by yourself. People will pay attention. Beautiful stuff. Okay, 2 more. Limited edition, very exclusive. All right. Don't miss your chance. You'll have to be fighting in the dumpsters for them later. I'm just saying. Trying to save you all some trouble.
So one of the barriers we talked about was our veteran staff and WPR mindset. Like, hey, everything's tied to an activity. The activity needs to be met. And one of the items we talked about was childcare and how childcare is not tied to an activity. We have a lot of homeless families in our area, so really like telling our staff that we are putting the child in a safe space. You know, we're allowing them to be there and ensuring they're safe for 8, 10 hours, whatever it may be, while hopefully the family is figuring out the stuff they need to do to not be homeless anymore. So the child's in a warm spot, they're fed, they can play, they can grow with other children, while the parents are figuring out, hey, where we're gonna be this next night, you know, and just allowing it to happen. Even if the case falls off CalWORKs, right, and they get sanctioned, we're still able to provide a warm spot for the child.
I love that perspective, right? It's for the children, for the children. And also just think about the stress that alleviates from that family who are really struggling to figure out what they're going to do and not have to worry about the kids being warm and safe and fed. Even if it's for a few hours, that can make a huge difference. Okay, beautiful. I have the last one. I know someone on that side of the room really wants it. I was feeling the energy. Who's gonna be the winner? You can't be wrong, it's your opinion. What are some solutions? If you all just wanna win on this side too, that's okay. All right, exactly. That's the other one, Stacy, I didn't wanna say it, all right.
Just one thing that came to mind in terms of daily practice was feedback, and really getting that feedback from our employee stakeholders, whether it's like, you know, a focus group or what have you. At least for my position, we're, you know, don't give me the evil eye, but operations and policy team. So we're constantly making recommendations, and what we've seen is, when possible, getting that feedback all the way down from that first person who's making contact with that client. The product is better, and the service is better, and it makes sense, and the buy-in is there.
Absolutely, very good. Oh, I have no more pens, you're doing it for free. What a good person.
I have my own pen. Just to piggyback on that, is consistency as well, from the leadership down. When you are providing a consistent product, then if you have one client that, like, if you're out, they're talking to somebody else, they're getting that same feedback, they're getting that same support and service. And, you know, like, we've been changing processes in our section where things are just so much more consistent because clients talk. And if they're like, I talked to this person, and they're like, yeah, I talked to this person, and the exact same experience, then that reflects better on us, and I think would encourage more involvement as well, or participation.
Yeah, that's a huge piece of trust. Are we reliable? Are we consistent? And so I wanna wrap up here as we excuse you here in just a moment with a few last thoughts here. Number one, what a gift that we've been given to not just be able to make a living doing this work, but to really change people's lives for the better. And we're gonna be spending the time anyways. And so the choice that we have to make is, do I wanna spend my time improving people's lives through compassion, empathy, connection, and problem solving, or do I wanna shame people into compliance? And I guarantee you that most of us, when we move on to the next world, whatever that looks like, are not gonna hope that our tombstone says, I met WPR every quarter for 15 years. Some of you might, and that's okay. It is choose your own adventure, but I will say that I would agree that most of us are here because we really wanna make an impact in our world, in our community, and for the people around us. And so let's take care of the people. The rest of it will take care of itself. And I just want to thank you for being here. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your conference. We'll see you at the reception tonight. I'll be the one doing the worm. Just kidding. Check after 7. But and behave yourselves, be good people, and we'll see you soon. All right, take care, everybody.